Anthologies. Without a doubt, the most underutilized way to format a series. It seems more and more like shows are unwilling to end once they reach a natural conclusion to their story, instead pushing the plot forward in contrived and uninteresting ways until it withers away into something unrecognizable. It's a sad fate that could easily be avoided by simply adapting an anthology approach. For those unaware, anthology, at least in television, refers to formatting a series by a collection of stories instead of just one, with the stories having some connecting thread between them. Popular examples are Black Mirror, The Twilight Zone, and American Horror Story. All of these shows, even if I'm not a big fan of them, are at the very least good anthologies. What connects the episodes or seasons together is well defined, and it doesn't feel as though each new story is a jarring change from the previous one. Whether it be by the cinematography, general atmosphere, or simply the tone of the series, even though it hosts a collection of stories, it still resonates with the viewer as a single program. However, what would happen if you threw all of this out the window? What if instead you decide to present the series in a way anthologies are most often used for poetry and short stories? More so a simple collection of works with very loose, sometimes even non-existent connections between them. Well, then you would get the mess of a show we're talking about today: Love, Death, and Robots. At first glance, Love, Death, and Robots seems like a sci-fi anthology show, but that idea is quickly shafted once you reach the third episode, The Witness, which does not fall into the sci-fi genre. So, if not science fiction, what brings all of the episodes together? Well, nothing. Not every episode includes love, death, and robots, instead it being about love, death, or robots. That may not seem like a big difference, but I assure you it is. The episodes don't flow in the same way other anthology shows do. Simply put, it feels like a different show every episode. And even though this was likely on purpose, that doesn't make it a good decision. Each episode was developed by a different animation studio and creative director. It's a series that was always going to be a mess in regards to watching episode to episode. Like I mentioned before, the series is more reminiscent of how most anthologies are in literature. Specifically, the idea of an author's short story collection. These are books that consist of a single author's short stories, which, like Love, Death, and Robots, usually have vastly different types of stories with no real connecting thread. However, Love, Death, and Robots made a fatal flaw when trying to emulate this. Why short story collections work as anthologies is because of this specific author that wrote the stories. They are used to showcase that author's work and writing style. But because Love, Death, and Robots has so many different people making so many different episodes, it is all a jumbled mess at the end with no consistency. And specifically with television anthologies, consistency is key. You can't take it one episode at a time because it will leave audiences confused as to the nature of the show. Take a series like Inside Number 9, for example. That series, even though it goes through multiple genres like Love, Death, and Robots, has a consistent style for viewers to latch onto. After only a few episodes, you know that all the stories will take place within one location, and there will be a twist at some point. All of the episodes, despite having virtually no connection from a plot or character standpoint, feel interconnected due to the consistent similarities in the way their stories are told. They belong grouped together as an anthology, where Love, Death, and Robots simply does not. Now, am I upset the show was made at all? No. I'm upset that it failed to deliver on what it could have been. If they went that extra step of just having all the episodes being sci-fi, or finding just 2 more short stories to adapt and promoting it as an anthology of adaptations, I wouldn't be here today complaining about how the show fails in this manner. However, I would likely still be complaining about what I believe to be the show's biggest failure of all. It is just trying too hard to be the wrong kind of mature. Now first off, take a look at this promotional image for the series. What instantly sticks out to me, and what I think they wanted to stick out, is how they crossed out Netflix with the abbreviation for Not Safe for Work. I'll be blunt in saying this did not leave me going into the series with high expectations. When a series wants to promote itself by being NSFW, it makes me think it's less mature and more raunchy. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the NSFW aspects of Love, Death, and Robots are terribly implemented and only exist simply to exist. The show wants you to think you're more mature for watching a series with animated genitalia, intense gore, and excessive swearing, because you certainly wouldn't have been allowed to watch this as a child. But truthfully, it just makes the series come off as desperate. Without a doubt, yes, these NSFW aspects can be worked into a story naturally and even improve it. Love, Death, and Robots even does this itself a few times, but those instances are buried under a mountain of forced implementations that distract and take away from the story at hand. For instance, in the episode when the yogurt took over, did they truly need the scene with a topless Muppet? No, but they did it anyway to make sure the series seems more NSFW than it actually has any right to be. Trying to be NSFW is obvious, because the scenes that are actually made better with those elements shine in comparison to every time it's used, just to be used. For example, the episode Good Hunting is one of the best in the series. The story follows how a hooliging is turned into a part machine due to the magic leaving the world and the greed of humanity. She is forced to become a prostitute and solicit men. As such, the story has casual nudity. Notice the adjective there, casual. There is no scene where them being naked is the main focus and therefore stuffed down the audience's face, because that is not the important part. And Love, Death, and Robots seems to miss that aspect the rest of the time. Things like a strip or a sex scene that are only in the story to be a strip or a sex scene should not be implemented. They need plot relevance to not be distracting and take away from the overall product in the end. Love, Death, and Robots being an NSFW animated anthology, while true, doesn't make it any better than if it was Safe for Work. Obviously, I have been very harsh on the show so far in this video, but it isn't all bad. The best thing about the series is undoubtedly the animation. There are so many different styles on display, and almost all of them are of the highest quality. Some of the episodes with more realistic styles look more like PS3 graphics, but that's in the minority. Some of the standout episodes include The Witness, which utilizes the same techniques as Into the Spider-Verse, Fish Night, with a style very reminiscent of something like the Borderlands series of games, and my personal favorite, Sucker of Souls, which utilizes some beautifully fluid French 2D animation. There are also some standout episodes among the bunch that I thoroughly enjoyed just from a story perspective. I mentioned Good Hunting before, but that episode was genuinely enthralling. It felt like an animated poem at some points with how majestic and imaginative the story was. Suits was another fun time, but for a completely different reason. It was an exciting thrill ride of a mech suit fight, with some surprising emotional backbone to it. Not to mention, it gave just enough of the world away for it to be engaging yet open-ended. And finally, my favorite episode of the bunch, Zima Blue. I'm going to talk about this one in detail, but while we're on the subject, here is how I'd rank each episode. If you have a different ranking, that's completely fine. Everyone likes different things. But anyhow, back to Zima Blue. This episode encapsulates everything I wanted the series to be, and really, what it could have been. There was no nudity, gore, or even any swear words in this episode, but it's also easily the most mature and thought-provoking story in the entire season. Zima is a robot who was originally designed to clean pools. Over the years, he advanced so much, he was more human than machine, and became an artist with the goal of better understanding the universe. Eventually, his art became him simply using one color on giant, planet-sized canvases. Zima blue. The same color of the tiles on the pool he was first designed to clean. By trying to understand his place in the universe, he realized that all he truly wanted was simplicity. So, he decides to give up everything that makes him so advanced and go back to be a simple pool cleaning robot. The first time I saw this episode, I actually had to pause and reflect for nearly 20 minutes. Zima realized the pleasure in the simple things in life, even after seeing everything the galaxy had to offer him. What does all of this mean? Well, I know exactly what it means to me. But I'm not going to tell you what that is. Instead, I want you to figure out what this all means to you. Because that was the best part about the story. It wasn't just an excuse to be not safe for work, to seem more grown up. It was an experience that truly earned my applause and inner self-reflection. Zima Blue is the only episode of Love, Death, and Robots that I actually loved. It was not only beautifully animated, but grew beyond its peers by delivering an impactful and philosophical story that anyone could come out of appreciating and thinking deeply about. With Volume 2 of the series coming soon, I hope they learn from Zima Blue and deliver more stories just like it. I also hope they can find a way for the episodes to flow more smoothly as an anthology and clean up the mess of a show they have so far, because there is real gold underneath it all.